Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the SEANC View podcast, the only podcast for state employee and retiree issues, our new tagline. This is the Christmas week episode of the podcast. We got some awesome questions from our listeners we want to run through. Let's get to the episode. Okay, like I said, Christmas is coming up. Are you guys excited about the
Always.
pending holiday?
Always. And now with grandbabies,
Oh, it's so much
Christmas
better,
is
isn't it?
magnificent.
Yeah, when I had kids, you always hear that before you have kids, but then it is true. It's way better when you have kids.
It is. Truly the magic
Christmas
is there.
magic.
Yeah, it's until they get like 13 and they want expensive stuff. Yeah.
My mom's trying to find the magic again of being in an empty nest household. And so she's been playing a bunch of Christmas movies to keep herself in the spirit
Mama.
until me and my brother come home for the holidays.
How old your brother is older than you, right?
Yeah, he's 2 years older than me. So
Next
he-
step is she starts mentioning
Yeah.
baby.
Then you get the grandbabies and it'll be even better.
she's happy with grand dogs right now.
There you go.
Okay.
She's happy with that.
Well, we thought it would be a cool episode to just hear from our members and get some questions from you guys. We tend to come up with our own topics, and we just want to make sure we got our hand on the pulse of our membership. And so we ask on social media for you to submit some questions to us, and we'll spend some time with them.
As rapid as we can be without.
So I'll be the Meet the Press Tim Russert of the program, and I'll ask you guys the questions. First question is submitted by Anna, and she wants to know, is there any advocacy going on for reinstating health insurance in retirement? Has there been any discussion on reinstating this for people hired after January 2021?
That is such a good question because that obviously took away a benefit that was important to recruiting state employees. And we still have a crisis as far as staffing goes in this state. And yeah, so that's always part of our conversations. You know, it's not happening right this minute. Obviously, not much of anything is happening right this minute. But yeah, that's something that we still talk about and bringing that back in order to recruit good people to come work for the state.
But there's no appetite for it at this time,
Not at
right?
this time.
Yeah. It is a huge asset, especially, we still hear people, oh, you have retirement health insurance, that's why you go to work for the state.
And we fought that back. There were several efforts made to end healthcare at retirement. We fought it back for a long time, but it happened.
Listening to what Suzanne said, which is all on the nose, but they have, it seems, in the General Assembly, two choices. One is pay more so that you can compete with the private sector, or two is make sure you put enough money in the health plan, or better yet, make the health plan be transparent about what they're paying so that we can bring the costs of the plan down so that you can offer that.
Yeah.
If you can't offer that benefit, which is pretty critical to hiring, especially younger people who you need to give a reason to come into state government, you're going to have to pay them a lot more.
Mhm.
So it's penny wise, pound foolish not to do so.
And everything always comes back down to transparency.
It does.
Always.
They also have a problem with retaining younger workers because a lot of them stay 2, 3, 5 years and decide they want to do something else. And it seems like it would be a big benefit to keep people around.
That was, if you had a conversation with a younger employee, that you should stick around, because when you retire at 55, you're going to have coverage.
Yeah.
The rest of us don't.
Yeah.
That's correct.
The rest of us don't have that
do
coverage.
not have that in the world. And that's the argument that ultimately prevailed when they took it away at the General Assembly. Most people don't have this. Well, that's kind of the point, because most people make more for the same job. That part was ignored, but the most part, people don't have it part.
Yeah.
That's what they clung to. So
Yeah. And
Good question, though.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I know that at the time, our kind of argument was, well, if you have to take this away, you need to do something about how much dependent care is for the state health plan. Is there any movement on that, like making that any cheaper, or not really?
it's not much better. There's always these kind of little attempts at it, but
It doesn't
it's
go
not
anywhere.
meaningfully changed.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm going to be a broken record because we need our members to understand this issue enough that when they call the legislature, they hammer it. Because the bottom line is you also can't bring down dependent coverage until you're not overpaying for the coverage.
Yeah.
You can't not overpay for the coverage until you have to tell the public what you're paying for the coverage.
Right.
So a lot of our questions submitted deal with one particular subject, and that is the budget or lack thereof. So that question kind of stuck out to me as something different. And then this one does as well. Paulette asks, why did we stop getting early pay in December? And
last week's episode of the podcast went into a little more detail about that. But just to recap, the state made the decision, and that's made at the executive branch level, that Office of State Budget and Management would not pay early in December the way it had,
as long as I can remember.
Well, yeah, my memory of state government's about 25 years. So it's at least that long that they paid early in December so folks could do their Christmas, and they didn't get paid again till the end of January as scheduled. Credit union stepped in, did some short-term loans there were rave reviews from folks about that. And go back to last week's episode and you will hear the credit union came on the podcast, and it was a great episode talking about why they did it and what they've got going this year, because they're doing it again this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Folks appreciate that.
I mean, if you've worked somewhere 25 years and you've planned your whole budget around getting paid earlier in December.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily mismanagement of your funds. It's just that it's the holidays, and everybody wants to, have a holiday with their family, and so they needed their paycheck early to make that happen.
January instead of August.
Yeah,
been good to.
And we tried. We asked if it could be extended until this year.
No, I meant if they were going to do that in December of 24.
Tell people early.
Yeah, give them a heads up. But there's still going to be people who wouldn't have heard it. And I'm sure that happened last year. All of a sudden, last minute, they realized they weren't getting paid early, and that kind of hurts my heart.
I can say, though, that when you get paid early like that, January is very long.
Super long.
It's a lot of ramen.
But state employees were accustomed to that as well.
Yeah. Gets a lot of deals on beans and ramen, like you said. So basically, a lot of these other questions, like I said, are about the budget. So I'll kind of maybe broaden all of them and kind of we'll work through them. First off, I guess, why is there not a budget? And we've talked about that every week on here.
Right.
Obviously, there's just not any common ground at this point, right? They just can't reach a compromise. And it's two sides of the same party, so it's even more complicated, right?
And that baffles everybody. How can they have a supermajority in the General Assembly and not come to terms on a budget?
Yeah.
So good question. And it's corner office stuff right now. Like
taxes.
We say a lot inside baseball. But the tax package is the big holdup, is our understanding, and there is no agreement on that. There was a session on the 15th, but it was a skeletal session. No business. So
I will say there's a lot of talk about it right now. There's a lot, like even John Locke Foundation came out, and there's another opinion piece in News and Observer, which we talked about a few weeks ago, that people are...
There's a new wrinkle coming out in these discussions, though. State Lines had a very interesting discussion where several people said, hey, that's incorrect, that we don't have a budget. We still have a budget, because the way our state is set up, unlike the federal government, where if they don't pass one that year, you're talking shutdown. We don't face shutdown because the current budget remains in effect. But if you did not change your personal budget at home, but your premium on your health care went up at work and your gas prices went up and so forth, your budget is going to run out.
Yeah.
And that's what we're facing. So technically, yes, but I feel like, oh goodness, that's such semantics, because the bottom line is we do not have a budget in that we have not addressed. Okay. Yeah. There's all these huge changes that have happened in terms of Medicaid funding, in terms of what we're bringing in taxes, and what local governments are facing in terms of changes from the federal government, and how that's going to lean in on the General Assembly. There's obviously what we care about, state employees, retirees who are sitting there with nothing. So when we say there's no budget, we're saying the needs of the state, and particularly of state employees and retirees, remain unaddressed.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is another question that came up are there like legal ramifications of them not passing a budget?
Yeah.
I guess not really, right? It's in
There's
statute
not.
that it would be
Yeah,
continuing.
in
right?
2016, the General Assembly voted for whatever budget was in place. If they didn't pass a budget by June 30th, beginning of the next fiscal year, then the budget that they had would continue. So the state would continue to run, like Artis just said, on whatever it had in that current budget. So there was a time when we had to wait for a continuing resolution, a CR as we called it, to have the provisions in it to continue. But in 2016, that was changed, so they don't have to go back and do a continuing resolution. Government just continues. That being said, I think it also takes off some of the pressure of having to get the budget done.
And we also need to point out there have been a few adjustments for things the General Assembly wanted to adjust. And by adjust, I mean spend some money where they wanted to on mini budgets.
Yeah.
State employees.
We were not a mini budget.
And retirees just haven't been in that.
Yeah. Are there any steps that state employees and retirees can take to encourage an end-of-year bonus or to encourage them to get to work and actually do a budget?
So I don't think that a bonus or anything like that is going to happen. I don't feel hopeful about that by the end of the year. But you guys hear us say this all the time. Don't ever stop calling, emailing, reaching out to your legislators. If you can meet them out in the district where you live for a cup of coffee and talk to, build those relationships, but don't stop calling. Even if you feel like you're not getting a response, you are making an impact when you call their office.
Can I give a couple of examples of that?
Please.
We talked about on this podcast months ago when the shrimp, what I call shrimpers.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Folks who are commercial fishermen in the shrimp industry raised hell from beneath the earth's surface.
They did for days.
Right, when their livelihood was going to be impacted by decisions of the General Assembly. And they prevailed. They prevailed because they came down there in mass. They
were
communicated.
outside that building.
Yeah, they were outside the building. They were on the phone. Of course, we have to watch it because when state employees gather outside the building, they say, well, we don't need them. Well, we needed the shrimpers. They were outside the building. But anyway, I digress. The shrimpers did it. They won. Yay. But now we've got this other issue. On the 10th, Governor Stein came out and said, look, because we need this huge amount of money just to keep paying the bills for Medicaid, we informed doctors we're going to have to cut the reimbursement rate we're giving them by a little bit. And doctors raised hell from beneath the earth's surface. And so on December 10th, the governor held a press conference, said, look, we're going to put back the rates. We're not going to reduce what we're paying to these doctors at all. We're going to go back to what we were paying them before we reduced it in September. So pressure works.
Mm-hmm.
Enough pressure works. Now, granted, the medical community has more sway with their pressure because that's a lot. That's a high dollar.
Ton of money
Industry. But the shrimpers did it the good old-fashioned gut through it and get out there and do it kind of way. So those are two examples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
one extraordinarily well-organized grassroots, one
Yeah.
extraordinarily well-funded.
Yeah.
So that's what you can do. You can be like the shrimpers or the medical complex, industrial complex, and put your pressure on.
Don't let up.
And, it's election season coming up, right? And these representatives and senators will be out in their districts.
And a lot of them have got primaries now.
And they're all going to get questions about crazy national issues that don't matter on the state level. Why not be the state employee there that's like, hey, what about this budget? Where's my raise?
And if you want to look up to figure out if you don't know your district that you're in, the SEANC website can help you out there.
Yeah, we have a lookup page. We have an action page. Just go
Find
there.
your legislator.
Yeah. We're here to help you too.
www.scenic.org.
Yeah.
I'm always a fan of the good old-fashioned just raise hell outside, like the shrimpers did.
Well, again, it's perceived differently.
Yeah.
I mean, for right or wrong, it
Yeah.
is. And we've lived it.
Yeah.
We've been there when
And
legislators
that's
have
sad
looked
to
out
think
the window and said, well, there's exactly how many we don't need of state employees because we're functioning just fine, apparently.
Yep.
And I am, in fact, imitating no one who's currently in the General Assembly. If you know, you know.
That's the thing. It's disappointing to think about it that way, as when it's people who are working hard and don't work for the state. They're like, okay, sure, whatever. just leave us alone, please. We'll give you what you want. But it's when people who are actually working for the state and doing things for people across the state and making sure that the state can continue to run, they're like, never mind, we don't even need you.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful.
It's like they don't have like you don't have a voice.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to put this in there too. We have quite a number of retirees in Scenic. Retirees, you know how short-staffed the state is right now and that folks can't get off work to come and advocate. But there are lots of retirees who know exactly what employees are going through, and you could be a crucial part of action.
And you can't lay off a retiree, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
Be a voice for the people who can't be a voice for
Yeah.
themselves.
As well as for yourself.
Yeah.
Gosh, we've been
that
down
too.
there when that was a threat
Yeah.
too. If you were protesting something and
Yeah.
you had your prison uniform on.
That's right.
yeah.
That's
Mhm.
right.
So it's a real, kind of catch-22, like Sammy was saying,
Yeah.
I thought this question was pretty interesting. We'll get off the budget for a second. So this person, Christy, her question is kind of long, so I'll kind of try to summarize it. But the gist of it is, in 20 years, since people are quitting or working 5 to 10 years and not retiring, is that going to have effect on the retirement system? And will there be more? I don't know how.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So
Yeah.
somebody's working 5, 10 years leaving, and so they never take their retirement. They get
that a good
back
thing or a
whatever
bad
money
thing?
they put in the system, first of all.
Okay.
They don't get interest the system made on that money, but they get whatever they put into it. But as that person rises up, if they stay, they're in a perfect world, in a normal functioning world, you would get raises every year. So your salary's raising that way, even if you don't move up through
Right.
promotion or anything like that. But people tend to move up in a number of ways. Their salary moves up. That 6% they put from their employee paycheck every month increases the longer they're there.
Right.
That's going in the system. That
Yeah.
won't be happening. So I think the net effects on the system are not good.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, that person's not going to take retirement, but you're replacing that person.
Yeah. At a lower level, too, with lower
True.
funding coming in.
Right.
That's a complicated question, Christy. Good job.
But not even in all cases are they replacing it. In some cases, they're freezing the positions and saying, never mind. I guess we don't need that person. We can have someone else do more.
And if you look at what your average retiree gets in terms of retirement, but you look at the turnover costs that we have from vacancies when people leave,
Yeah.
you could take that turnover cost for 1 year and invest that stuff. And 30 years later, you can afford for all these people to retire plus some.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked it in the context of, like, why are retention rates so low? So that's
We don't
another
pay
question.
enough.
Yeah.
But that's
it's always
obviously-
pay when you ask that question.
It's
Any
pay.
employee, it's pay.
And benefits, though, too, right? I mean,
Yes.
yeah. I guess it's all a package, but your package
It
is
is,
not.
because when you came to
enticing.
work for the state, you knew you weren't going to get rich, but you had stable benefits. So
Mhm. But you can also see it as from my perspective as a young person, I like to travel. When you're working so much that you don't even get to take the vacation time that you have, you get fed up and you get to the point where you're saying the benefits that I'm getting and the lack of raises that I'm getting aren't worth it.
And some of these jobs are very dangerous.
Yeah.
And like,
so many of them. Yeah.
especially when you consider the pay, like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, but it does. I mean, Suzanne's right. When we ask members, okay, other than pay, because the General Assembly asks us all the time, I mean, other than pay, what can we do to make your people happy? I mean,
It's always just pay them. Just
yeah,
pay 'em.
I mean, and a lot of members of the General Assembly run businesses. I don't know. What do your employees want other than their paycheck to move at least somewhat with inflation? Of course, that's what employees anywhere want and need, to be clear.
That's crazy. Like, I mean, not.
They need to be able to afford where they live, especially with so many state employees in Wake County. They can't even afford to live in Wake County, and they're having to commute from very far away just to go to work.
It's hard times for sure.
But that's why you work for pay. You know, you pay. Yeah. It's very simple. Pay
so you can get paid to live.
Yeah. So this question, we'll go back to a kind of a budget question here. How was the $3.3 billion surplus from 2023 spent?
So I had to go back and look at this one a little bit. The state ran a $3.3 billion surplus from fiscal year 24-25. The state collected more than $34 billion in taxes and spent $31 billion on schools, universities, prisons, healthcare, and any number of general fund services. The state also, keep this in mind, also spends billions from the Highway Trust Fund and receipt-funded services. So that's not, the general fund was not the only source of funding. At the beginning of fiscal year 2024-25, the state had a credit balance of about $2 billion in the general fund. By June 30th, it was up to more than $5 billion. While approximately $891 million remains in the fund, the short answer is the surplus was spent on Hurricane Helene relief.
Okay.
I can't let this go without pointing something out. So Suzanne told you how it was spent. Let's talk about how that 2023 surplus got there. At least $1.2 billion of it. The Office of State Budget Management, OSBM, reported back then much of that was reversions back to the general fund of money the agencies didn't spend. And they admitted much of that was driven by what they called historically high vacancy rates.
Yep.
So employees doing the job of more than themselves because there were so many vacancies where they worked meant that $1.2 billion went right back to the state. And then the state did not spend that $1.2 billion on the workers.
Yeah.
That needs to be pointed out.
I remember at that time we talked about, well, that money needs to go to the employees.
Yeah.
You would
right?
think.
Yeah.
You
That's where
would
it came
think.
from, yeah.
Yeah.
But, it's a big deal for the state to pat itself on the back over how much is in the rainy day fund. But when it reverts because you aren't paying enough to keep your people and you have all these vacancies, spend the money that reverted to pay enough to fill those jobs. These jobs weren't not filled because nobody was advertising. They weren't
That's
filled
right.
because nobody wanted the job.
Because pay.
Because pay.
Let's move to the retirees. I have a question here. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when it was announced that the system has made $14 billion this year. If they're making such high profits, why are they not giving COLAs? We hear that same question. And we talked about it a couple of weeks ago as well. But
so the retirement system, I say this often, just trying to keep everybody educated. The retirement system is actually built to produce enough money from investment returns to pay for a true COLA. We shouldn't even have to be asking the General Assembly for those funds. If it was all in a perfect world, as Artis said, the system's investments would produce enough money for us to pay a COLA. The $14 billion that Treasurer Briner and his investment authority have, made happen, which is great, $14 billion, he is going to use towards the unfunded liability of the plan, which that is important, but it's $14 billion. It cost about $600 million for 1% of a true COLA. So 2% would be a little bit over $1 billion.
yeah.
And there's $14 billion. So, yeah.
So, like I said, we do have a big election coming up in 2026. So maybe we should talk a little bit about EMPAC and about how EMPAC operates and what we'll be doing in the coming year. I guess the first question here is, who decides who we endorse?
Yeah, so EMPAC is the Employees Political Action Committee. It's the political arm of SEANC. EMPAC is made up of members from 18 areas in the state, and endorsements are made by this group. They hold interviews in their areas and in the districts. They interview and vet out candidates, and then they come together for a state meeting and they finalize their endorsements. So every endorsement that is made by your fellow SEANC members, your fellow state employees. And SEANC we're very representative of the state across the board. So there is never much of a lean in either direction. This past election season, it was pretty much right down the middle, how many Republicans they endorsed and how many Democrats they endorsed. But it is an internal vetting process that's done by members.
Yeah.
And if you don't like who's being endorsed, you can get involved with some of the interviews.
Yeah, and get involved in EMPAC and give to EMPAC.
And give to EMPAC.
And how do they decide how much money to give in each race? It's decided.
Yeah, just through discussion.
Okay.
Is it based on importance of race at all?
Sometimes.
And there's a maximum amount of money that we can give, right? It's $6,800 in the primary and $6,800 in the general. And I think that goes up like every cycle, doesn't it?
Yep.
I'll tell you what, though, I've been hearing so much out there from, we need to not endorse anybody, nobody,
Yeah.
and that's what happens when you get shut out. Like we start hearing that. That's historically, that's just true.
There's a lot of conversation around that right now.
Yeah.
It's also a thing of not getting the job done, of not just state employees and retirees not feeling valued by these people, but it's also a thing of they had one job, get a budget.
Yeah. And there's a lot of talk. I mean, this is kind of veering off EMPAC, but maybe not. There's a lot of talk coming out of the House about the importance of teacher raises, how they ready to hop on it and do the right thing by teachers. Awesome. We support that 100%.
Absolutely.
But it's missing a lot of the point, which is it's not just teachers where we have trouble keeping people. It's not just teachers where we are shamefully underpaying. It's most state jobs. And then you've got your retirees who, spent their whole career watching decades and decades and decades of retirees doing their time, doing it for less money than in the private sector, but then they knew there would be a retirement with COLAs. Modest retirement, modest COLAs, but at least it would move a little bit so you could survive.
Somewhat keep up with inflation.
And that's not happening for anybody. So I worry that teachers are obviously, if you throw that word out, it's going to poll better than state employee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you're just looking at schools, we need our teachers, and God knows we don't pay them enough. But the same thing applies to everybody else, all the support staff in these schools, the administrative staff, and nothing against principals, but I'm not talking about principals.
Right.
When I say administrative staff, I'm talking about the people that know Johnny's got to leave early
That's
today.
right.
Well, I think that kind of sums up all the questions I have. Do you guys have any that you want to bring up?
I had one more. I had a question about GLP-1 drugs.
Yes.
The state health plan stopped covering those because it was 10% of the pharmaceutical claims that the plan had. It was not sustainable to keep covering those medications. However, there are some negotiations in the works, so stay tuned that maybe sometime in 2026 we will see some coverage in some form come back for those drugs. So that's a little bit of good news for
and I think
some folks.
Thomas Friedman talked about that at our last town hall a little bit. Like it may be, I saw that Pfizer's drug was approved this week, and it's possibly going to be cheaper. So
well, there's some things moving in that area of pharmaceuticals right now for sure.
Okay.
We also get a lot of questions about Aetna, the current third-party administrator of the plan, versus Blue Cross, the one that had been the third-party administrator forever. And a lot of people wonder, did we get a premium increase because of Aetna? You got a premium increase because Treasurer Falwell had committed to hold the line on that until he could get the legislature to let him make it a fair game where the medical industrial complex could not profit as grossly as they were doing at the expense of state employees. So he was holding the line on premiums until everybody could share in that sacrifice. And so Treasurer Falwell retired. And so, as expected, you ended up with a premium increase. So until we get a commitment that somebody's going to hold the line for state employees in the way Treasurer Falwell did, you're going to be facing that because no one is willing to take the healthcare industrial complex on.
Right.
The cartel is what Dale Falwell called them. You call them whatever you want, but nobody's wanting to take them on in the way that he was willing to do.
It's a good way we always seem to work back to healthcare. So it's always the problem.
It's true because that's all it tells you something. When that's all you hear, other than pay, that's all you hear from members.
Yeah.
That tells you
it's a big
that's
deal.
The hot button. However, you said it on one of the podcast last month, John. It's one of the biggest issues nationally. Yeah. It's the hot button issue for everybody, private or public sector. It's just that we can lobby to do something about it in the public sector.
Yeah.
And just a side note, too, if you're having some issues with Aetna, because that was a big undertaking to transition from Blue Cross Blue Shield to Aetna, and you may hit a bump in the road over a claim or something, please reach out to us. We may be able to put you in touch with someone at the plan who can help with just these speed bumps that appear to pop up in random places where people are.
Yeah. And I saw a comment on a News and Observer story a few weeks back that you sent, John, on the health plan. You sent it around to us, and there was a comment, not from one of our members, I don't think, but just a random member of the public saying, I thought Aetna, when they took over from Blue Cross, part of their whole thing was they were going to bring costs down so the premiums would come down.
Mm.
We talked about that a while back on this podcast. That had been my understanding too.
Yeah.
So we'll try to get back with y'all. Maybe we can get Aetna on here to come and talk about why are we not seeing that? Because I don't know the answer to that question. I wish I did because our members do deserve that answer. So what we commit to you here today, because I thought it was a really good question.
But I think you kind of do know why. Because healthcare is just
but
outrageous.
They're the ones that have to agree or not agree to this
Yeah.
inflated rate the providers are asking for.
Oh, yeah. So you're
So would like to ask them why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'll put that on the calendar for next year, 2026, a great year for podcast episodes from the Scenic View. Let's go to my question of the week, and then we'll get out of here. These people want to get their presents.
John's wacky weird question of the week.
Okay, so question of the week. It is Christmas week. I guess we've exhausted lots of topics. We've already talked about movies one year. I think this is maybe our third year. So let's go favorite Christmas song. I have many opinions on this, by the way, because Christmas songs are one of my favorite genres, if you will. So I like Donde Está Santa Claus. Have you ever heard this one?
I'm not sure.
Oh, it's awesome. From Augie Rijos. It's like a child singing about Santa Claus, but it's in Spanish. Part of it's in Spanish, but it's just really fun.
Cool.
So maybe I'll splice that in here.
Yeah,
What's
everybody will know.
What is
Song. I love your random music. My favorite is Blue Christmas by Elvis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
What-
a good. And the Eagles, Please Come Home for Christmas. I love that one too.
My other,
Christmas music, period.
actually, I won't say it until I may step on someone else's. But
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I guess my traditional favorite would be White Christmas by the Drifters.
Yeah,
That's like the best one.
that's
I
a
think.
pretty one.
So, okay. What about you? Which one of you want to go?
Go ahead.
Mine's actually Sabrina Carpenter's Buy Me Presents.
Oh, I have to hear this.
I
Is it
love
new?
it. It was on her Fruitcake Christmas album. It's been out for about 2-3 years now. So
Yeah, I
it's
never
it's
know.
newer, but I just love it.
I thought it was going to
Cute.
be the Christmas Tree Farm song from.
I mean, that's
Taylor
also an
Swift.
amazing one. But
That's a popular one. in my
Buy Me
house.
Presents is just catchy, and it's kind of funny because she's kind of just talking about how she has a crush on Santa, and Santa will buy her presents if another guy doesn't want to.
Okay.
Kind of like a new version of Santa Baby.
Just
Yeah.
like every other
Okay,
Sabrina
Santa
Carpenter
Baby.
song.
Santa Baby, I got issues with, but that's
Well, I think all of us women.
What's the one
Yeah.
that's kind of inappropriate?
Baby,
Just
it's cold outside?
Yeah.
That's also I got
Santa
issues with that
Babies.
song.
Yeah, it's
And,
kind of
That yeah,
racy too.
it
huh?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's quite a few songs that there's issues with them of like, why? Why is this such a popular Christmas song?
Yeah. All right, artists, you're on the hot seat.
My favorite traditional one, Oh Holy Night. Like, you
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
get better than that. My favorite country one, Mary Did You... Well, it's not a country song,
Yeah.
but the country version, Kathy Mattea's version of
Mhm.
Mary Did You Know.
Oh, that's a good
Beautiful.
one.
And then my
Yeah.
favorite inappropriate one, not Santa Baby or anything like that, is Merry Christmas from the Family.
I knew you were
Robert
gonna
Earl
say that.
King, you know.
If I gotta
love
go-
that.
My favorite redneck one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
If I gotta
Grandma
go
got
for
run over by a reindeer is pretty good.
traditional, I have to do Joy to the World.
Yeah.
Still not the
I always think of the Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog song though
Such
when
a-
I hear that. When I hear that title. Joy to
What?
the world. Joy to the world.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I think of the church version that I sing
yeah,
at
yeah.
Christmas Eve.
You know what I don't like?
What's
Mariah
that?
Carey.
Oh,
No,
no.
I don't mind Mariah Carey's Christmas. Apparently you
Ugh.
don't like.
You got opinions.
I don't
feel-
need those whistle tones.
I feel like Pentatonics is kind of shoved.
Oh, yeah, it is. It really is.
I like their version of Mary Did You Know. I can't lie. I love that version.
Yeah. And what's the one with like the one that's like really hard rock, but then they also have a orchestra playing
I don't know, but I like it already.
Trans-Siberian.
Well, the
Oh, yeah,
Trans
yeah,
Siberian Orchestra.
Yeah.
If you've not been to see them and you get the opportunity, they're amazing. Like when you started that, I didn't know who you were talking
Oh, yeah.
about, and then all of a
But
sudden,
yeah, it's like got a
TSO,
big-
they're great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's Christmas talk for the year.
It's a good one, John.
Ho, ho, ho.
And have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in 2026.
Merry Christmas.
We've got one more episode after this before 2026.
Oh, okay. We'll see you next week then.